This is the only digital research channel in India producing the documentary ethnographic films on the endangered human populations and ethnic cultures of India. So subscribe this channel to know more about the endangered human population and ethnic cultures of India on every weekend. The Andaman and Nicobar Islands spread over nearly 600 miles of sea in the Bay of Bengal between Cape Negritoes in Burma and the Indonesian island of Sumatra is a chain of some 300 islands known as the Andaman and Nicobar Islands, also called as the Bay Island. The islands are situated within a quadrangle formed by 10 degrees north and at 14 degrees north latitude and 92 east and 94 east longitude. The total area of the islands is 8,249 square kilometers, of which the area of the Andaman group alone is 6,408 square kilometers. The Andaman group is constituted by over 200 islands and islets, while the Nicobar group consists of some 200 odd islands. The distance between Calcutta and Port Blair is 1,302 kilometers. From Delhi to Port Blair it is 2,496 kilometers. From Chennai to Port Blair it is 1,362 kilometers. The present document is prepared for the preservation of the culture of the Onge tribe. The photographs and the text are drawn from the various sources available from the books, articles, documents of AAJVS, Cellular Jail, Anthropological Survey of India, Library, Google, and my personal collection. I am greatly thankful to all the individuals and institutions and organizations in contributing their support to this document. Little Andaman is the fifth largest island among the 348 islands that make up Andaman and Nicobar archipelago and is the southernmost island of the Andaman district. Geographically, the Little Andaman Island is situated between 10 degrees 30 degrees to 10 degrees and 54 degrees north latitude and 92 degrees 21 degrees to 92 degrees and 37 degrees east longitude. Hut Bay is the administrative center of this island, which is about 140 kilometers from Port Blair, the capital town of the Union Territory, and 150 kilometers from Car Nicobar, the district headquarters of the Nicobar. The Onge community is the one of the four Negrito tribal communities that still survive in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Little Andaman is the homeland of the Onge community. Earlier, three distinct places were inhabited by this tribe, and they were the Dugong Creek, Jackson Creek, and South Bay within a particular island, prompted partly by the changed situation in the aftermath of the colonization of the Little Andaman Island and partly by the intention to do good to the Onge. The government took the decision to settle the Onge at Dugong Creek in 1976 and 1977 and South Bay in 1980. Another treacherous impact on the habitat of the Onge was visualized after the tsunami hit the island in 2004. The Onge settlers were completely destroyed by the tsunami in 2004 but all of the Onge survived. They know that if the sea receded rapidly, it would later rush back with the destructive power. When they felt earthquake and saw the water level drop drastically, they gathered on the shore and hurled stones into the sea to trick the angry spirits, who they believed were shaking the pillars that holds up the sea, into believing that the Onge were in the water. Then they quickly headed inland, safe from the waves that they knew would follow. Presently, all the Onges are inhabiting in Dugong Creek. Until the late 18th century, the Andamanese culture, language, and genetics were preserved from outside influences by their fierce reaction to visitors, which include killing any shipwrecked foreigners, and by the remoteness of the islands. The various tribes and their mutually unintelligible languages thus are believed to have evolved on their own over a millennia. A clear history of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands can be had only from a British survey of these islands conducted in 1777. The Andaman Nicobar Islands remained the abode of the Negritoes and the Mongoloid respectively, who occupied the islands for centuries. These islands remained secluded from the mainland till the end of the 18th century, when people from the outside world first arrived. In the 2nd century, the Andaman and Nicobar Islands were located in the maps prepared by the Greek astronomer, mathematician, and geographer Claudius Ptolemaeus, which possibly is the earliest reference to these islands. The early history of the Nicobar is not well known. Although these islands were familiar to traders in ancient times, the islands being situated close to the trade route to the far east. Though little is known about Portuguese activities in these islands, it is evident that the Portuguese missionaries started preaching Christianity among the islanders. The Nicobarese language also reflects a few Portuguese words. F.J. Mount, in his work The Andaman Islanders, published in 1863, gives a general description of the different islands, encounters with the tribals, and expedition notes. Apart from this, he has given a detailed description of the characteristic features of the tribals. While writing, he mentions that in these islands, man was probably still in the same condition in which he was when they were first settled, simple and primitive. Their language was barely sufficient for the expression of their few simple wants. Totally ignorant of agriculture, they have no means of making provision for the future and must be satisfied with fruits and herbs, and as they earth spontaneously produce, and which the shellfishes they pick up and on the shore. Their habitation are of that simple construction and constantly moving from place to place. History of our relations with the Andamanese is one of the important documents which has prepared by M.V. Portman. This is a basic report which you can observe here. He has talked about the Great Andamanese, Onges, and the shoreplains of Great Nicobar Island also. Portman, in his work, given information on various expeditions which he has made and official instructions, history, and a brief account of traditional norms, behavior, and the settlements of the tribes in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Portman extensively worked among the South Andaman group of tribes, especially Great Andamanese tribes. Mann, Edward Harris Mann, is one of the important ethnographer who has written on the tribes of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Here you can see the Edward Harris Mann, first published in 1883, its title as The Aboriginal Inhabitants of Andaman Islands. Here, he has given a detailed account of these tribals, ethnography. That is, he has given about the magic and witchcraft, which is very important to know, the tribal distribution and the tribal community, the nomadism, habitation and adoption relationships, the hunting and fishing ways and warfare. Claus visited Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the year 1901. He has written a document in the Andaman and Nicobars where he has given the description of the flora, fauna and ethnology of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Alfred Radcliffe Brown published a book, The Andaman Islanders, in 1922. This book was based upon fieldwork carried out by Radcliffe Brown in the Andaman Islands during the years 1906 to 1908. The text contains detailed information on various aspects of the indigenous cultures found in these islands, with analysis of social organization, ceremonial customs, myths, legends, and religious beliefs. Illustrative figures are incorporated throughout, including numerous photographs and appendices are provided on language and technology. This book will be value to anyone with an interest in Radcliffe Brown, the Andaman Islands and the development of anthropology. 31, which has been prepared by MCC Bonington. He is one of the British administrator, worked as the superintendent of census operation. His work, which is published in 1932, which became a basic book for all the anthropologists. M.B. Portman has documented on Andamanese languages, and his book, Manual of the Andaman Languages, very important one. The Census of India 1921 by Lewis gives us the statistical figures and also the flora fauna of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Suresh Vaidya has given an important document entitled as The Islands of the Marigold Sun. The Land and the People of Andamans by Sen is an important book which gives us the details of geographical and socio-economical conditions of the Andaman Islands. The most important works on Andaman Islands are Bonington 1932, Lewis 1932, Das 1937, Changappa 1951, Sen in 1962, Cipriani in 1966, Pandit 1975, Chakravarti 1977, Datta 1974 and Naidu 1994. The tribal population of Andaman and Nicobar are declining at a rapid pace since the occupation of these islands by the Britishers. Like the other primitive tribes of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, the Onge is also diminishing very fast in number in the recent past. Their total number has been reduced from 672 in 1901 to 104 in 1996. In 1901, first attempt was made by the Census Department to enumerate the Onges, but it is only an estimate. Because of the hostility and nomadism of the Onge, actual enumeration was not conducted. In 1901, the estimated population of the Onge was 672. It came down to 631 in 1931. Half of the population is reduced in 1921, and it was only 346. In 1930, the population was enumerated as 250 and it declined to 150 in 1951. After 1961, the Onge population is fluctuating around 100 and in 1990, it is declined to below 100. According to AIJVS reports, presently there are 118 individuals living in Dugong Creek. The Onge are a semi-nomadic tribe depending on the forest resources in collecting the roots, tubers and fruits, and also on the seafood and freshwater fishing. So they have two types of houses constructed in different places. One is permanent house which is called as Beira, and it is a huge umbrella type house which you are observing here, and it accommodates all the band people, and you can see inside there are a number of platforms for sleeping which is clearly visible here. Number of platforms for all the community of a band will be staying here. The temporary hut is a small one and it is called as corrale. Whenever they go for hunt in the forest, they will stay 2 to 3 days for hunting and food gathering. Still they get the sufficient food. The Onge construct the houses locally available wood and also the palm leaves. The houses which you are observing constructed by the Andaman administration for the Onges in 1976 under rehabilitation program. In Dugong Creek, the government has provided a school, primary health center, balawadi and a cooperative society for feed distribution of the food for the Onges. The Onge are experts in preparing single outrigger canoe which is called as a dinghy, which you are observing here. It is prepared with a single wood with a dugout method and fitted with a float on one side which you can see here. It can be balanced in the sea also. They will go up to 200 meters from the shore to sea for fishing. The Onge uses this dugout canoe for catching the fish, turtle and for transportation. The outrigger canoe you are seeing is prepared by the Onge tribe at Dugong Creek. The Onges are using their own indigenous technology in preparing their daily requirements, which you can see here. It is the bucket which he is preparing. He has taken a raw wood and he is preparing a bucket with digging inside, and it will take minimum 15 to 20 days to prepare a bucket. And they are experts in basket making, which you are observing here. They will prepare very good baskets for food gathering and hunting materials to collect. During leisure time, most of the Onges, both male and female, spend their time in preparing the baskets and other requirements for the usage of the tribe. Till 1960, the Onge were nude and had no proper concept of the word dress. Onge women have used their traditional nakioge, that is a tassel made of tender palm leaves, to cover their genitals. After their contact with the outsiders, they adopted the habit of wearing cloths. Boys usually go without cloths up to the age of 6 or 7. Men and male children usually wear loincloths. But nowadays, the Onge boys and girls used to wear colorful dress. They get their dress from the AAVG. Generally, women used to wear a blouse and a petticoats as their casual dress, and men wear trousers, shorts and shirts. The traditional practice of painting the body and face with the clay is the special feature of the Onge. Both men and women adore with painting their body. Painting is the job of women. Usually body is painted with red or white chore, depending upon the occasion. For red chore, the clay paste is mixed with their pig fat or a turtle fat. The only paste give a shining effect on the dark face and body. Red chore is usually used for death ceremonies and during the rituals of the death of the family members. The family members and relatives may also do the same whenever they recall the memory of the deceased persons. Painting with white clay, on the other hand, indicates happiness. White clay is mixed with the water and is mostly used in the occasions of marriage, love, joy, and festivals, and after a successful hunting. After marriage, an Onge girl is expected to paint her husband's body and face with white clay. It is a belief that the more the wife likes her husband, the more the care she takes to paint his body and face. After a successful hunt done by their men, Onge women paint her husband's body with white clay. This is done in recognition of success. During my research studies among the Jarvas and Great Andamanese, also I have observed the Orche, the painting on their body, which is protecting the people from the insects and also from the cold weather. They protect from the different diseases. Onge language is classified as an endangered language. Onge was once a popular language used by all the people in the Little Andaman Island. However, various factors led to its decline. This includes the infiltration of the foreigners into the land after the coming of the British settlers. This resulted in Onge mixing with other Indian languages. Subsequently, people began learning other languages such as English, Hindi, and other Indian languages at the expenses of Onge and other Andamanese languages. Most of Onge words end in vowels, except in a few cases. The Onge counting system is quite simple. It has words for 1, 2, or more. A number of things have to be done so as to protect the endangered language. The Onge are included among the darkest people of the world. They are well built in appearance, very dark in complexion, and dwarfish in nature. The most notable aspect in their feature is their eyes large, black and beautiful, and are glittering white in contrast with their color. Their dark complexion, short stature, presence of steatopygia or unusual growth of the buttocks among both male and females leads us to think that they are the purest of all the surviving groups of negritoes of the world. They have very scanty body hair. Their hands and feet are very small but are very long. Their eyes are glittering and white in contrast with their color. Their teeth are very strong. While analyzing the skeletal remains on the Onges, Gupta reveals that the comparative dermatographic study of the Onge with that of Asiatic negritoes, Oceanic pygmies, and African negritoes indicates that the Onge are similar to Asiatic pygmies in their structure. Their fingerprints and joints take them near to the Bushmen of Africa. He quotes, although the ethnic affinity of the Onge of Little Andaman has almost established with the Southeast Asiatic negritoes, investigations of the finger ball patterns do not supplement the some postulate. In arch frequency, Onge are similar to the Asiatic pygmies, while in the occurrences of the wheel and loop, they are near to some of the Bushman groups of Africa. Lalji Singh, the director of the Indian Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, says that DNA samples from 46 Onge men who now live in a reserve and blood samples from a handful of Jarva. The results initially appeared to support the established theory that the original islanders came from Africa. tens of thousands of years ago. But the analysis of the Y chromosomes revealed an ancient genetic mutation characteristic of African races. The discovery suggested the Onge migrated to the Andamans probably by foot when sea levels were lower. When the glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, the Onge found themselves cut off as a series of islands formed. But when Singh examined the Jarwa samples, he found they were different. The distinctive insertion in Y chromosome was missing. This raised the possibility the Jarwa had migrated before the Onge who arrived 50,000 to 60,000 years ago, or they had come from elsewhere. Singh further says it is a mystery. We cannot say whether the Jarwa migrated from Africa. The results are very different from the Onge, and the Jarwa are not related to any group or mainland India. The Andaman tribes evolved not only in profound isolation from the outside world but also from each other. A study by Erika Hagelberg, a Cambridge scientist, had appeared to confirm the African link. She analyzed hair samples brought from the Andamans in 1907 by Alfred Reckley Brown, a British anthropologist, which had been stored in Cambridge. Hagelberg found that the clusters of DNA fragments from the hair were similar to those of African populations, especially southern pygmies. Proponents of the out of the African theory believes the first humans left Africa 100,000 years ago, reaching Asia 60,000 years ago. Later, settlers wiped out most of the tribes, but a few marooned in isolation pockets such as the Andaman tribes survived. Dugong or the sea cow is the state animal of the Andaman Islands. It is a very delicious food for the Onge tribe. The Onge are food gatherers and hunters. Most of them depend on the food gathering, especially they relish the seafood, Dugong Creek, and turtle, the fish, and also the wild boar which is available from the jungle, and other animals which are available from the jungle which they will be collecting, and generally they like to roast the food on the fire and they will eat. Only nowadays they are boiling the food and cooking like any other Indian cuisine, which you can observe here. They are making the curries like Indians in using vessels, and they are good in cooking presently. Especially they make chapatis, rotis, and also cook the rice. Few of them relish the tea which is provided by the AJVS, which you can see here. They have a habit of drinking black tea. Now they are aware of the preservation methods. They will preserve the tea and other food materials in the bottles, and also they heat it whenever they require for their consumption, which you are observing. A tea is preserved in the bottle by a Onge woman. As they are food gatherers and hunters, dog is their pet animal, which you can observe here. Dog is also sleeping along with them, and also they will provide a share of food from the hunt to the dogs, which you are observing here is the flesh of a pork, which is shared with the dog and by themselves. The Andaman Adim Janjati Vikas Samiti, the official tribal welfare body of the administration, introduced welfare programs to provide food to the Onge such as rice, dal, oil, and other materials which you can see from the list, which were introduced by the AJVS along with the traditional food of meat, wild boar, turtle, fish, tubers and honey, which replaces the traditional food with the modern food of Onge, which reduced the protein consumption enormously. Naidu's study in 1994 says that daily consumption of food items collecting during the study reveals that the diet is deficient in iron, vitamin A and vitamin C. The table shown here informs us that average consumption of the nutrients among the Onges per day. A recent report of National Commission for Scheduled Tribes reveals this indigenous Andamanese tribal group is turning obesity as there is very little physical activity. The auxiliary nurse midwife informs that they were also having problem of hypertension. It emerged that since everything is being provided to them free, they are not engaged in any physical activity. The report said National Commission for Scheduled Tribes Secretary advised the administration to take steps so that both children as well as elders undertake some physical activities. The main demographic troubles of the Onge are they are one of the least fertile and most sterile people in the world. Half of the couple in this society belongs to sterile. Onge women rarely becomes pregnant before the age of 28. Due to their least fertile, the infant and child mortality is very low. It is more than 40%. The net reproductive index for the Onge is less than 1%. This is also one of the reasons in reducing the population of Onge tribe. The British colonial expansion profoundly altered Onge indigenous peoples' demographic structure, subsistence mode and social organization. The first Onge contact with the British dates back in 1825 and includes the British punitive expeditions ending in 1867 that claimed many Onge lives. Finally, after continuous efforts and attempts to control the island, the British established friendly contact with the Onges in 1883. The British took interest in these islands for the rich forest resources, especially the timbers. The exploitation continues even today to extract forest resources, deforestation posing many problems to the Onge in terms of demography, substances, ecology and culture. Another important cause is the reduce in the depletion of Little Andaman forests. Once were abundant with wild boars, roots, tubers, fruits and honey, and the sea with the fish, turtle and dugongs. Depending on the season, the Onge have adopted their diet according to the availability. The depletion and degradation of forests, however, has led to a sharp decline in the Onge natural food resources, which in turn has led them malnutrition. The settlers, particularly the Bengalis, are increasingly hunting wild boars and other forest and sea resources. As a result, the Onge have to spend more hours covering a great distance to hunt and gather. Most of the time, the men return without a game. They have had to increase their dependence on marine resources which once merely supplemented their land-based foods. Venkateshan further mentions that the Onge are now entirely dependent on government doles. While considering the depopulation of the Onges, both inherent character of the Onge and diseases are responsible. Researchers quote various reasons for the decline of the Onge population. Among them, important are the repeated inbreeding within the small population and the disease introduced into the isolated small community following the physical contact with the outsiders, that is measles, which struck the Onge drastically on number of occasions. Avaradi and Agarwal mentions that the presence of high sterility among the women, the custom of widow remarriage holding young men back from taking part in reproduction, young girls not getting a chance to marry from the misbalanced in the population structure is also responsible for the depopulation. The incompatibility of marriage age between the husband and wife is one of the predominant reasons for the Onge depopulation. Due to the incompatible marriage age, the fertile male or female cannot utilize the reproductive span. In some cases, either the woman cannot utilize her reproductive age or sometimes the aged husband become unproductive or sterile. Young men also leads to unproductive marriage age, but wife is in the menopause age. So because of this, in some cases, both young men and women complete their lifespan without any offsprings. Due to the non-availability of the suitable brides in the same age, the young men marry old widows and other old widowers choose young girls as their marriage partner. This is also one of the factors for their low fertility rate. Arun Kumar Jha, the Executive Secretary of the Tribal Welfare Department, said marriages within Onge members become difficult due to the non-availability of perfect matches based on their age. We found two perfect couples after a few years and decided to help them get through with their marriage. This will help the tribals to grow in number. Malhotra in his study mentions that the smallness of population, there is more possibility of homozygotes coming together, veneering low genetic viability of the individuals. This is because the lethal genes whose harmful effects are suppressed by their dominant alleles in heterozygotes manifest fully in homozygotes. One of the biggest factors that make the Onge sustain their population is their welcomingness. They have been known to be pretty friendly to the outsiders and this resulted in them adopting to new habits. Lalji Singh mentions that these people have been able to survive by natural selection without any interference from modern medicine for thousands of years. He further mentions that their genes are living proof of the survival of the fittest.
Now, let us have the experiences of Dr. A. Justin, who is head of the Institution of Anthropological Survey of India in Port Blair, and he was born here and brought up here. He has working since last 3 decades on the aborigines of Andaman and Nicobar.
Prior to 1960s, they were the lone inhabitant of Little Andaman Island. Until recently, settlers from erstwhile East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, and even negligible population of repatriated Tamil from Sri Lanka, and of course Nicobaris from Nicobar Island have been brought over there. But as on date, they are semi-nomads. Though they have been made welfare dependent people, they are receiving allowances, essential commodities, and they falls within the ambit of development of the Andaman and Nicobar administration. But they still go for hunting and collection of various roots and tubers, and they still go for fishing, they still go for turtle hunting. So they are more continuing in that way. If we analyze and compare them with the Great Andamanis, the Onge are still retaining their traditional hunting gathering style. If we look at the material culture, the implement which they use, they are manufacturing them and they are continuing their traditional activities. It is true that settlement have been made for them, and even new constructed hut have been built. One model hut was shown to them by an expert, I don't want to name here, and the hut design were lifted from certain books. Though it was lifted, it was just an imitation of a hut of the Onge, but unfortunately they did not like the design of the hut that was built by an expert. So they were demanding that raw materials be given to them and they would use their own indigenous technology, and they prefer the kind of hut which they used to live in. This is one sad, but unlike the Great Andamanis, they are not ready to marry outsiders. This is one kind of thing where we can experience, we can witness a population of the Negrito population here who are making all efforts to maintain its purity, genetically, biologically, and all. So Onge, like the Sentinelese, are the best example, who would not even agree to enter any kind of marriage alliances with outsiders. They are very stringent in that way. So they understand the purity of their own genetics and its sacredness. So that is we can appreciate in terms of the kind of effort that they are doing in whatever way, though number is very small, but they are maintaining their biological genetics and characteristics.
Yes, that is very important one which you can observe here. As though they are exposed to the civilization since British who came over established the colony in Port Blair, but in spite of it, they are not gone for the marriage alliances or sexual intercourses with any other outside population except their Onge. That is, yes, you are right, sir. That is, they have maintaining the pure breed of the population is a very important one among the Onges.
The future strategies for the development of the Onge are the most important strategy for the Onge is to restabilize their stabilized eco-cultural equilibrium and build up the self-defense for its coexistence with the mainstream of the societies. The developments and programs taken for the improvement of these islands are the major factors in destabilization of the eco-cultural equilibrium of the Onges. The following suggestions may be considered to conserve the Onges. That is, to provide nutritional food and good health and educational care, to conserve and development of the Onge substance of economy, and to protect their traditional culture is very important for the future conservation of the Onge tribe. The need of the hour is to formulate a policy not by a non-anthropologist. The anthropologist should be given a free hand, whereas Jawaharlal Nehru has given a free hand to Warrior Elvin to bring into the policies. That is why he prepared Panchashil, which is Jawaharlal Nehru has accepted and implemented. That is why I request the Prime Minister of India and the President of India and the policy makers at different levels and administrators and bureaucrats, we have to take the concern and opinion of the anthropologist how to conserve the aborigines in India. That is very, very important. Otherwise, all these primitive tribes may extinct from the planet, if not today or in the times to come. We cannot see any of the aborigines, not only in Andaman Islands, but also in mainland